answer two questions. Question number 1, why does Sankrant or the festival of Makar Sankrant sometimes falls on 14th of January and sometimes it falls on 15th of January? And the second question, what is the importance of the festival of Makar Sankrant? So first, as we have discussed earlier on, we have multiple time scales, and the interesting point about Bharatiya Panchang is not only that it uses multiple scales, but it keeps on putting all these scales together. So even if each of these scales is inaccurate to some extent, when you are doing the differential calculation or you are returning to the base, so to say, every once in a while, the overall calculation becomes extremely accurate. Just in the case of vernier caliper, that each of the two scales is measuring only up to 1/10 of a centimeter, but the two scales together we can measure up to 1/10 of a millimeter. So by putting all these scales together, Bharatiya Panchang becomes the best in the world. Now, there are two ways of measuring time. There are many ways of measuring time. We are considering two main ways. One is by looking at the sun. How do you see one day? One day is from one rising sun to the next rising sun. Whatever is the time in between is called as one day, which is 24 hours. The other measurement would be looking at a distant star and checking its position. When we return to the same position the next time, that also can be called as one day. This is called as a stellar day, and the earlier one is called as solar day. And the interesting part is, because of precession of Earth, the solar day is different from the stellar day. How much? Every year the difference is 20 minutes, and as a result of which the two Panchanga keep going away from each other, sliding away. Interestingly, in the Gregorian calendar, every 4th year there is a leap day, one day extra. So these Panchanga which are going or sliding away are pulled back, in fact sometimes much more than necessary, by that one day correction. As a result of which the Sankrant keeps going forward for 4 years, then comes back, then again keeps going forward for 4 years, then comes back. And how much this happens? In every 72 years, the resultant difference would be one day. So approximately you can say every 72 years the Sankrant forwards or advances by one day. Now last year the Sankrant was on 15th, this year is on 14th because of the leap year. Yeah. So in this century, increasingly you will see that the Sankrant keeps falling on 15th, not as a rule, but increasingly. In the last century it was always on 14th, and a century next to that it will start falling on 16th. This is not an inaccuracy, this is actually accuracy. Because we are using two scales, we are able to come up or able to understand this difference in the days. If we were to use only one scale, doesn't matter how accurate, we would never come to know about this. So the question number 1 solved. Now on to the second part. What is Makar Sankrant? Makar Sankrant is the ingress of Sun in Capricorn, Sidereal Capricorn, that is more or less Indian Capricorn. the sign of Capricorn. The whole sky is divided into 12 signs, and moon takes approximately, the sun takes approximately 30 days to go through one sign, and that is why we have one Sankrant, or Sankrant means Sankramant, Sankramant means movement, movements means travel. Travel of whom? Travel of sun. So sun travels one sign every month, and as a result of which every month we have a Sankrant. Then why is Makar Sankrant so important? Makar Sankrant is important for two reasons. One is, this is the time where sun enters the sign of Makar, which from the farm calendar is the time where the cold season starts going away and the warm season starts. And especially in the tropics, it is most important, because in the tropics it is the time of harvest, and this is the time when all the harvesting is done, and as the warmth increases, the crops are taken into the houses. So this is the festival of enjoyment, festival of gain, festival of celebrating your hard work of the whole year. Interestingly, December means the 10th month of the year, and Chaitra comes just after that. This is Makar Sankrant is falling in that time, and this is why with Makar Sankrant the new festival or new farm year is started. Have you ever wondered, when the year ends in December, why in so many countries the financial year ends in March? The reason is simple, because most of the countries follow agrarian calendar, and this agrarian calendar, you will see that the harvesting is in January, so the year should end somewhere in January, February or March, which would be the time where the farmer has his produce and the taxation can be done easily. In earlier times it used to be called a chautha, or fourth part of the income or fourth part of the produce. When would it be most easy to collect the produce? It is just after the harvest or just around the harvest time. So the year ending in sometime after January end to March end is the most suitable time. Earlier this also was used to be called as Faisli year. Fais is produce, and Faisali year or Faisali Sal, this is what it used to be called. That is why we have year end in March. So we have answered two questions about Makar Sankranti. Makar Sankranti is the time of enjoyment, time of reveling, time of celebration for the hard work that we have put in whole through the last year. So wish you very happy Makar Sankrant.